I quote, create a routine to snap yourself back into focus if you lose it. Can you give a couple of examples of how you do it in your daily life off the board, on the board as well?
One way that I do it is if I have something that's bothering me and it's obsessively circling my head, getting me out of the flow state, sometimes I think it's really useful to write it down because
Hmm.
that can be a way of like flushing it out. For instance, I played a poker hand horribly, but I'm still in the tournament. Well, I can go to the break and write it down with a pen and a paper and say like, okay, this is something I'm going to deal with later. Right now, the game is still in play, so I can't obsess over this. And same thing, I think, in life. I make a horrible mistake in a talk,
Hmm.
or I realize that I posted an article with a massive error. I made a typo in my book, all these types of things. It's just, I really think it's about not letting it obsessively circle in your head so that you're still
Hmm.
able to stay present and be effective. And part of that is by accepting it, noting it, and thinking of a time to deal with it. But it's not now.
And when you write that down, it's more like you've had a discussion with yourself, rather than mulling over it. Is that how the psychology works, especially in today's age where people use an iPhone or typing it out? It's writing things down in an analog way has not gone out of fashion. That's something that you recommend then, because writing would take that dialogue with yourself, and you keep it, you store it, you can store it, and you can revisit it later then.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then I also just think finding the right level of problem to allow
Hmm.
yourself to get back into this flow state. In chess, it's actually pretty easy because chess is kind of tailor made for focus and getting you into the flow state. So you can always just like snap back into it by looking at the chessboard and looking at some variation.
Hmm.
In life, it can be more difficult, but it's also about finding something interesting that breaks your brain from like the circling obsessively over something that you can't control. Often it's just about thinking about something besides yourself. I think it's like a lot of
Hmm.
these issues come from self referential, like thinking about ourselves and our problems, which are, of course, very important. But as soon as you start thinking about someone else, it becomes so interesting because they're a whole nother
Hmm.
universe. So in poker, maybe I'm looking at somebody in the table. I'm wondering, who is this person? What do they want? What were they thinking about before the tournament? What are they going to do after the tournament? So
Hmm.
those questions become quite interesting as opposed to me saying, Jen, you're so stupid. Why did you make that play? Like, that's not
Hmm.
interesting. That's just like a circle, circle, circle,
Yeah.
circle. Try to get out of that circle by thinking about something that is interesting.